Hello everyone, today I'm going to be demonstrating the skateboard haircut for you. For the skateboard haircut, they require that you take at least a minimum of 1 inch off of your mannequin. And then I'm going to be using a square layering pattern. That's going to be the easiest way to get layers put in the hair. So first we're going to start with our mannequin. In your skateboard kit, you will have a spray bottle, and so we're gonna spray her down, detangle her. I've already done that part. So we're gonna start by sanitizing our hands first. Just remember, whenever in doubt, always sanitize. So we're gonna start out with sanitizing our hands. It says, I'll prepare the mannequin for service. I've already done that part. Remember, like I mentioned before, I sprayed her down and detangled her. So that's prepping the mannequin for service. Now we're gonna perform a scalp analysis. When I am performing a scalp analysis, I am going to just be lifting sections of hair off of the head and checking for abrasions or any kind of open wounds they may have or infectious diseases. So I'm gonna start out with the middle parting. Go ahead and work with vertical sections, just performing your scalp analysis. Then you can start on this side. Okay, so after my scalp analysis, I'm going to go ahead and begin my haircut. You can do it one of two different ways. You can go in and create the square layer pattern first and then go in with your razor and use your razor to do a one length, because you do have to use a razor at some point in this haircut. I'm gonna go ahead and start with my square layer pattern first and get all the layers put in, and then at the very end I'm gonna go through and do a one length with my razor. When you are working with a skateboard bag such as this, every time you take something out, once you get all your supplies that you need out, go ahead and seal it back. They want to make sure that your bag is sealed every time, so make sure you're doing that part, okay? So I've taken out all my supplies for my haircut and I'm going to sew my bag closed. Remember, for this service, again, a reminder, you have 42 minutes to complete this. So I'm going to go ahead and clip her hair up to drape her. We're going to be using a long neck strip. So we can probably loop that around twice. Fold it over to seal in the end so it'll stay. Go ahead and grab your cutting tape. The same one is acceptable, so if you've done your waxing service, you are required to put a cape on your mannequin, and you can use that same cape for your haircut. If for some reason your cutting cape is too long, I would just wrap it around and then go ahead and clip it and secure it with some sort of a clip. Okay, so now you're ready to start your haircut. She is draped and ready to go. So when we're working with a square layer haircut, we're gonna start out with the center vertical section from the forehead to the nape. Remember, with that center vertical section, it's going to create a guide for you. So you don't want that center vertical section to be any wider than the width of your comb. So it's almost like a mohawk section. And that's gonna create our guide for the whole haircut. Okay, so I have my center vertical section. I'm ready to start my guide. Remember, whenever you are cutting your square layers, you're going to be starting in the very front at 90 degrees to the head shape. And remember that the head's round, so it's going to be 90 degrees at different points. So if you think about it, it's going to be 90 degrees here. When we get to the top of the head, it's going to be 90 degrees there as well. So I'm going to turn her to the side for you. And we're just cutting blunt. So now I'm going to start piecemealing those sections together. So taking some of what I cut and adding it to some of what I haven't cut. So this is going to be my guide for the rest of the haircut. Once you get to the back of the head, make sure you're over directing the pieces that are back here up. So if the hair does not reach from the very bottom or the guideline, you don't have to cut it. Okay, so I have my guideline in and it's set for the rest of the haircut. Remember that on the state board layered haircut, you can use any layering pattern. I'm just using this because I feel like this is the easiest. So I'm gonna go ahead and split that guide in half. Half of it's gonna go to the right and half of it's gonna go to the left. So we're just breaking up that guide, that center vertical section, with a profile section. So after I work with my profile section, I'm going to turn the mannequin around and I'm going to be working with a radial section. So we know that a radial is going to go from the top of the crown to the top of the ear, and it's going to separate the front of the hair from the back of the hair. So I'm going to take my clip out the front part of the hair. Take another clip, section out the front part. So now we were left with a radial section. So with that radial section, I'm going to start pivoting. Remember that our guide's in the center if you ever get lost. The guide that we created with the center vertical section, you're going to be using that for the whole entire haircut. So whenever we're pivoting, we're going to be working with a broken profile. Or if you want to, you can also take just a profile from the top of the crown all the way down to the nape. And just remember, pivoting, it's going to be like pie sections. So they're going to be like, almost like triangle sections. This haircut, we are over directing up to 90 degrees. Following our guide in the center. So I'm done with that, the right back quadrant. So I'm gonna move over to my left back quadrant. So whenever I'm pivoting on the left side, I'm gonna turn her around this way. I'm combing the hair up to 90 still. Following my guide from the center. Just remember to move with the pivot. So I'm on my last pivot. So I'm gonna be standing directly behind the mannequin. Okay, so I am done in the back. I'm gonna cross check. Take sections from both rear quadrants about in the same area. You're just gonna pull everything up to make sure that they're even. So right now we're balanced. So everything looks good there. So now I'm gonna start in the front. Turn her around here. Remember that our guide is still in the center for the front. So we're just gonna be working with horizontal sections. And the sections, make sure they're no wider than the width of your comb. So we are still combing that, over directing up to 90 degrees. Our guide's right here in the center. So I'm just gonna take that and follow my guide over. Over directing up, our guide's still in the center. Over directing up, our guide's in the center. So we are done with the right front quadrant. Let down our last quadrant. Still working with horizontal sections. Standing behind her head, over directing the hair up to 90 degrees. So we're elevating to 90 degrees, over directing up. Taking my last section here, elevating to 90 degrees, over directing up, and following my guide that's in the center that we've created at the very beginning. So always cross check in the front as well. So I'm gonna take sections in the same part of the head on each side and pull up. And we want it nice and balanced when we pull it to the center. It's nice and balanced. Sometimes if you get tags, I would just go through and try to cut those off as best as you can, still following your guide from the center. So I'm done with the internal layering part of the haircut. So now I'm gonna go through and demonstrate one length with a razor for you. So we're done with the shears and comb. So now we're gonna take a razor. similar to this. It has to have a guard on it for state board. I like to use the bigger part of the teeth whenever I'm doing a one length. You have a little bit better control and you don't have to take such small sections. But either side is fine, just whatever you're comfortable with. So I'm actually going to lift the mannequin up a little bit first. Turn her around here for you. So when we're working with the razor similar to this, when we go through to cut, I'm going to push down on the hair in a scooping motion. Tilt her head down slightly. I'm going to start in the center back with my one length. And since we're not taking a lot off, you don't have to do a million partings and sections. Just get those ends cut and trimmed with your razor. So I'm gonna hold that at a very low elevation, natural fall. And whenever I'm gonna cut, I'm going to go above my fingers. And like I said, we're going in a scooping motion. So I'm gonna go ahead and push that down. Take my next section of hair, clip the rest out of the way. Following my guide from where we created above my finger, scooping down. Sometimes you will get little tags like this, just go through and clean those up. Release the rest of my hair. So I'm going to start on the right side of my mannequin. Take my next section. Following my guide. Releasing the rest of the hair. Following the guide to my one length. Just remember, you're not cutting with shears, you're cutting with a razor, so you're not going to get a perfect straight line. It is going to give the mannequin, or the haircut I should say, a little bit more of a frayed look on the ends, and that's okay. They just want to see that you're using the razor. Okay, so I'm done with my one length on my mannequin. So I have completed the haircut. I'm just gonna recap one more time. What time am I at?
20 minutes.
So I did all this in 20 minutes, and remember that you have 42 minutes to complete this. So I completed it almost half the time that was given through state board. Just real quick, we're gonna recap on everything. We always want to sanitize our hands before we start any state board procedure or any procedure in general, even if you're behind the chair. After we sanitize our hands, we're going to prepare the mannequin for service. So that means spraying her down, combing out the tangles, and let's getting her draped with a neck strip in the cutting cape. The reason why they want to see a neck strip is because it protects the client's skin from touching this cape. Also, we are going to perform a scalp analysis. So we're just taking vertical sections, lifting the hair up away from the scalp and checking for abrasions. After you perform the scalp analysis, you can go ahead and start your haircut. I used a square layer pattern on the haircut today, starting with the center vertical section. Just remember, a center vertical section is going to create a guide for you. So we used a center vertical section to create the guide for this whole entire haircut. After we created our center vertical section, we split it in half. Then we took a radial from the top of the crown to the top of the ears, sectioned out the 2 front quadrants away from the back part. After that, we started with pivot sections, working with our center vertical section guide that we created in the beginning, working with pivots, elevating to 90 degrees, over directing up, and we're blunt cutting square. After we did our pivots in the back, we worked with horizontal sections in the front, elevating to 90 and over directing up. We used a blunt square layer pattern, and like I said, always go through and just cross check at different points to make sure the haircut's even. So I guess that's it, guys. I hope this helps you and answers some of your questions. We'll see you later.